coming this evening. It's nice to see you all. And I've been a parish nurse at St. Paul of the Cross now for 18 years. It doesn't seem possible, but it has been 18 years as of this past August. As part of what I do, my ministry, so to speak, I visit our parishioners who are homebound or basically homebound, our parishioners in nursing homes and hospitals. As you know, we have a rather large and very active CCD program. Well, the CCD program was going, just galloping right along, and later in the afternoon, I get a telephone call in my office from who was then the head of the CCD program. She was rather upset. Evidently, what had happened was that one of the children who was in attendance here in the CCD program had a sibling who was older, a teenager. This teenager contracted a very virulent case of meningitis. Unfortunately, before they could even diagnose him, before they even figured out what was going on, the teenager passed away. CCD found out about that because we had the child in attendance here. And as you know, sometimes meningitis can be spread by contagion. This was the fear. What do we do? Here is a family that suddenly, within 24 hours, lost a child. We've got a kid here who is basically maybe a walking little bit of an infected child. We didn't know if the child could be a carrier, was coming down with it. We had no way of knowing, and we didn't want panic. We didn't want anything in the way of actually just supporting that family. They really needed our support. What we didn't need was a panic going on because next day, Friday, school was going to start as per usual. So what do we do? Well, I really think that the Holy Spirit had a big hand in this because not only was I here, thankfully, but everybody that I needed to be here was here. And I was able to get a hold of them like 1, 2, 3. So we kind of talked, we kind of figured out what we were going to do. We got our pails, we got our gloves, we got our bleach, we got our Lysol, and we started out. And we went into the classrooms. We knew who the child was, happily, and basically what we did, we threw open the windows, get the air going, get it circulated, get everything nice and fresh, hopefully, and we worked until fairly late in the evening, which was fine, but what we did was we took all the books out of all the desks, we washed down all the desks, all the books. We figured out just about how tall the child could be and what surfaces, because kids are very handsy. They touch everything. They touch each other, they touch this, they're leaning on that. So we were thinking, my goodness, we really have to concentrate on what we can do to stop this before it ever even has a chance of starting, if that were even going to happen. We didn't know, but we had to be proactive here. So we went around, we did doorknobs. We did on the doors where a kid would even hold on. Books, desks, you name it, we did it, including the bathrooms. And this was not easy, but you know, with the Holy Spirit, because we knew that we were really doing something that was potentially very, very important. Everybody worked together. Everybody was smiling. We weren't exactly what you would call happy because of the circumstances surrounding this whole thing. But we worked together. It was fine. About, I don't know, 7:30 in the evening, we finished. At that point, then Father Carl went to see the family. The next morning, oh, by the way, just to make sure, the then principal of the school of the regular grade school that was going to come in next day was notified as to what we did, how we did it, when we did it, etc., so that if questions arose, she could answer them intelligently and know that things were done and that it was as safe as it could possibly be for our children. Happily, there was no panic. There was nothing that went awry. The meningitis was limited to one particular child. This was a very unhappy event, so the family needed a lot of support. So we could concentrate at that point on just supporting the family, because that's what needed to be done here. They needed the support. We needed to support them as a parish, as a people, as a community of faith. And with the Holy Spirit, we did it. Nothing happened. Nobody caught meningitis, not even the little CCD kid. And so thankfully, something that could have been a tragedy that had a little bit of a ripple effect was avoided. This is just one instant of stuff that happens. I chose this one because this was something tangible. I don't often understand or realize or see the results of what I've done. A lot of us do that sort of thing in a faith community. We do stuff, we don't know the immediate outcome. This was an immediate outcome for us. This was something that was finite, right there, start, middle, finish. And it was really wonderful. Now, one of the things that we were also asked to speak about are kind of what are the gifts? What can you take home? What can I take home? What does my position here, intertwined with the faith, do? Well, one thing that I value so very much, if any of you know about healthcare these days, and I'm sure everybody does because we're all consumers of healthcare, when you visit the doctor, for instance, you get your 15 minutes, you're in, you're out, and then you go home, and you're supposed to do what the doctor tells you to do. Many times, that's very difficult, especially for the older population. And sometimes there may be a language barrier, a cultural barrier, you know, whatever. One of the things, or some of the things that I can do is that I can devote time, attention, knowledge, caring, sharing, consideration. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. This is what I love about what I do here. Very quick example. Several times there were elderly women who were living alone at the time. They were widows. They were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. That's daunting, because all of a sudden you're faced with learning a whole new lifestyle, what you can eat, what you should eat, what you don't eat, what's good, what's not good, and then you have to test your blood sometimes. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't like needles a whole heck of a lot. And as far as sticking myself with a needle several times a day, I don't think I'd enjoy that fact. But it's a fact of life if you are diagnosed and the doctor wants you to do this. These ladies did not want to give up their houses, and so in order to live independently, they called me and I went to their homes, and over a period of weeks was able to spend time with them. And I gave them literature, we talked about various things, taught them how to test for their blood sugar, and told them to take notes in their language and do it very, very detail-oriented so that they would know exactly step 1, step 2. And you learn by rote. It's like going to school. It's just learning, and you can't learn stuff like this very quickly. It takes time, it takes attention, it just takes all of that. And so I'm happy to say that these ladies learned it all, and they were able to stay in their homes basically until they really couldn't. One lady passed away and she was still living there quite independently in her home. With the knowledge and resources, I've met and spoken with quite a few of the guilds over the years. And I was always very concerned with women's health issues, especially heart, because unfortunately there is the kind of knowledge, if you will, that men are the ones who get heart attacks. Men are the ones who are most affected by heart attacks. And we have found out that over the years, women develop heart problems. Most of the time, it's a little bit later than the men develop heart problems. And unfortunately, until just recently, women weren't taken seriously as far as complaining of heart problems was concerned. I was speaking to a guild one night, and it was rather crowded, and there were women, I guess, 40s, 50s, whatever, and I was talking about this very issue, and urged that if there was any problem, thinking that you may have a heart attack, and you are a female, and a lot of us feel very foolish calling 911 or even just going to the ER and saying, hi, I might have a heart attack going on here, or I don't feel well, feeling that if it wasn't, you would feel really silly. Better to feel silly and walk out on your own 2 feet rather than having a heart attack and then just dealing with the consequences of that. So I've always urged that it's better to err on the side of caution. And then a couple of years later, I was speaking to the same guild, and one woman got up and told me that this had happened to her. She was experiencing what she didn't feel right. And a lot of women's heart problem symptoms are very different than men. Men have the crushing pain, they pass out. Women tend to feel kind of not everything is really good. They may feel a lot of fatigue, they may feel very, very tired. They may have a lot of different symptoms than men do. The classic arm, the classic chin, the classic back pain. Women don't always have those symptoms. They can, but they often don't. Well, this lady had gone to the ER and was not treated as aggressively as she really might have wanted. They did not do any cardiac testing on her. And they asked her to please go home. She was probably having indigestion. She didn't. She insisted that they give her at least an EKG, just something to ease her mind so she could go home happily. Well, she stuck it out. They finally acquiesced, and they had given her an EKG. Lo and behold, she was having a minor heart attack. You know, it was just something that was so gratifying to hear, and that that somebody, you know, was able to profit by somebody else's knowledge or caution or whatever. You know, it's a wonderful thing. People fall through the cracks of medicine these days all the time. And the one thing I can do, and I'm all about prevention. I'll put in a plug for Prevention Sunday, by the way. Please do come, and feel free to call me. Numbers in the bulletin. I'm happy to talk to anybody. The next few minutes are for questions. Does anybody have questions or concerns or anything?
Do you think that drinking diet drinks is bad for you because of the chemicals in there?
Okay. Do I think, if you didn't hear that, do I think drinking diet drinks are bad for you? I'm basically a conservative person when it comes to any kind of medicine, even nutrition. I do have a degree in nutrition. I think that if you're limited to maybe one drink every other day, it's not going to do you any harm. If you're drinking several diet drinks or any kind of soda on a daily basis, whether it's sugar or whether it's the sugar substitutes, probably not the best idea in the world. It might not harm you for quite some time, but it's not doing your body any real good. I just as soon see you drink like a regular sugar type because your body knows what to do with that really well. But I would limit it, if at all possible, to just a couple of times a week. If that doesn't sound too harsh, because they have found that you know, any of those things are not really good for you. The sugar, too much leads to possible strokes, possible heart attacks. Sugar within your artery, your arterial system, is kind of like shards of glass. If you have too much, it's really almost that bad. And the diet stuff is filled, you know, with the sugar substitute and other chemicals. And I'm all for putting natural stuff in your body as much as possible. Water is great. Any other questions? Okie dokie. Thank you. Thanks, Burk.